Hello and welcome to the Kate Gourmet. My name is Jeremy, and today we'll be making karaage, Japanese style fried chicken. I'll show you my version. Let's get started. Okay, so to make karaage, we'll first marinate the chicken, and in this case we'll be marinating it in a soy-based marinade with some ginger and garlic. These flavors are essential to that rich karaage taste. So I'll start by getting a bowl for my chicken. So in this case I'm using chicken thighs cut into bite-sized pieces. And to this I'll add some soy sauce and sake and just a little bit, like a teaspoon or so of sesame oil. So some sesame oil just to bring out the aroma. And to the chicken we will grate some ginger. Peel your ginger. With some peeled ginger you can grate it directly into the chicken. So it's different from like American fried chicken in that it doesn't have a bone in it, which makes it nice and easy to eat with chopsticks. Just like the ginger, we'll grate the garlic. So we have our ginger and garlic grated in with the marinade, and we'll give that a mix so everything is coated. If you're cutting the thighs yourself, remove as much fat as you can, but leave the skin on because that'll crisp nicely once we fry it. There's our chicken marinated. It's very simple but very delicious. So we'll set this aside for later while we heat up the oil and prepare the side. I know deep frying at home can be a little daunting, but don't be afraid. It's pretty easy once you take care of a few things. You may be worried about using so much oil. You can reuse the oil, just strain it and filter it through like a mesh strainer or paper towels and put it back in the bottle that it came in, and you can use it up to 5 or 6 times. As long as it's not too discolored, make sure to give it a smell before you use it again. You can add some fresh oil too, and make sure when you're deep frying you have a heavy bottomed pot like this with high sides. You don't want to splatter oil all around. And the other thing that I would recommend is getting a thermometer to make sure the temperature is right when you're deep frying. Just knowing how to take care of the oil, using the right cookware, and making sure the oil is at the right temperature. It actually is pretty easy, and actually it's a lot of fun too. So I'm using canola oil in this case, so any neutral oil with a high smoke point, you can use canola oil, vegetable oil, peanut oil. So I have about 1 liter of oil right here. I have an IH burner here which actually has temperature settings on it for deep frying. But if you do not have this, that's when a thermometer will come in handy. Don't try to do this without knowing the temperature because then you could get into trouble. So I'm using that setting today. I'm gonna set the fry temperature. So I'm setting the temperature for 180 degrees Celsius, and that's about 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And remember, when you put food in the oil, the temperature will decrease a little, so it's okay to go a little bit over because it will go down a few degrees once you put the food in. You don't want to overcrowd. We'll get to that. Okay, so while the oil is coming back up to temperature, we're going to prepare the side, which in this case, we'll just do a little bit of shredded cabbage, which is pretty typical to put on the side of the plate. This process is the same as the shogoyaki video. So what we'll do is shred this, and then we will put it in some cold water to keep it crisp. We'll take a wedge of cabbage and then shred it with a slicer. Be very careful if you're using a slicer. If you have a guard that comes with your slicer or a mandolin, please use it. With your cabbage shredded like that, we will submerge this in cold water. By putting this in some cold water and then draining it right before we plate, it'll look nice and crispy. We'll set that aside until we're ready to plate. We'll slice up a few lemon wedges just to use as a garnish later. So our oil has come up to 180 degrees Celsius, so we're gonna get ready to fry. So now that the chicken's been marinated, we're gonna add 2 things to help it develop a nice crust. First thing is about 1/4 cup of flour and almost equal parts katakuriko, which is starch. Starch will help it really crisp nicely. Flour will give it the breading, and katakuriko will help it get really crispy. And we'll give this a good mix to make sure everything is coated. So the breading will help lock in all that flavor and keep the pieces of chicken nice and juicy. Okay, our chicken is coated in flour and katakuriko, so we'll get our frying station ready. So when frying, it's important to get your station set up so you have a clear flow from before the oil, in the oil, and then a landing spot after it's come out of the oil. In this case, I have a metal tray with something that will drain the oil. So the reason why you have a little rack like this is you don't want the chicken to get soggy once it's out of the oil. You don't want to put them directly on the paper towels either. This is just going to wick away the oil from the rack. Okay, so this is our landing spot. So our chicken, our oil, and our landing spot. We're going to fry each piece. And remember, these are like bite-sized pieces. We're gonna fry each one from about 4 to 5 minutes. Let's test the oil. So if you get a little of that batter on the end of your tongs or saibashi, you can put it in and see if it bubbles up. That's looking good. So here we go with our first piece of karaage into the oil. So use your tongs or long chopsticks like this to drop each piece in the oil. Make sure not to overcrowd, don't put too many. Okay, and use a slotted spoon, or in my case I'm using a spider, to just make sure that they're not sticking. And look at that. Even just in the oil, they're getting nice and crispy. Very good. You don't want to put too many in at once because the oil temperature will drop and it'll take a while to heat back up, which will lead to greasy food. In order to get crispy fried food, you want to have it at the right temperature so moisture is coming out and preventing oil from coming in. As it's frying, you can smell the fragrance of the ginger and the garlic, and it smells so good. All right, this is looking just about perfect. You want it golden and crispy, just like this. So take it out, set it aside, put it on your rack. Use your slotted spoon or spider to remove them from the oil and set them on your rack over here. Continue the frying process until all your chicken has been fried. I really like frying. I like the process of it. I feel it's very therapeutic in a way. Don't be afraid to fry at home. You could do this in like a little shallow fry and turning the pieces over, but you won't get quite the same results like this. So we're almost done frying. So I'll prepare the sides. So we will drain the cabbage. Give that a nice toss to get rid of any excess moisture. All right, so we are done. Our last batch karaage is coming out of the fryer now. Okay, very important, when you're done frying, turn it off the heat, and I like to just keep it covered and let it cool down, just in case. You don't want any accidents, so just keep it covered and keep it out of the way. Let it come down. Okay, and here we have our karaage. Let's plate. Use some chopsticks to plate the cabbage in a neat little pile on the side. Okay. Oh boy, that is a plate of karaage. Garnish with a couple lemons, and there we have it. Karaage, Japanese fried chicken. Let's give it a taste. This obviously isn't just for one person. This would be for a whole group, a table of people to eat. And don't worry, I will be eating this with someone, not alone. So usually you take one and put it on your individual plate. Give it a little squeeze of lemon if you like, and give it a try. So good, so tender, so juicy. The garlic flavor comes through. It's the perfect little party food, and it goes great with beer. So there it is, karaage. It'll be a big hit at parties. Give it a try. Don't be afraid to fry at home. Just be organized and be careful of your heat. So if you've made any of the dishes that I've introduced on this channel, please feel free to tag me on Instagram. I would love to see what you've come up with. Please give this video a like and subscribe for more Japanese home cooking recipes. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.